All right, we're going to call a meeting into session, guys. Time is 5:34. Let the record show all councilmen and women are present. We're going to start with invocation by Councilwoman Trujillo, pledge allegiance by Councilman Saldana. Everybody stand, please.
Heavenly Father, as we gather tonight, I pray you guide us to make decisions with an open mind and an open heart. Lord, help us all come together as a council to make the best decisions for our community. I also ask you to place your healing hands on all of our brothers and sisters who are ill and that need their health restored. Guide us to navigate through this global pandemic with strength and grace. Protect all of our law enforcement, healthcare providers, and essential employees who are working so hard to lead us through this time. May we have the spirit of camaraderie and work together on our shared mission. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're going to go into D, public comments. Anything to come before the council?
Mayor and Council, Sarah Nichols, City Secretary. I did not have any public comments submitted by the public.
Okay. Mr. Winkles?
Mayor and Council, with the brand new United Supermarkets open finally after a long struggle, I actually want to say a final thank you to the City Council, to the County Commissioners, to the administration, to the permitting. Everybody that I talked to with the executives of United Tuesday evening were extremely impressed on how smooth everything ran through this city. So y'all did a great job, and I thoroughly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amen.
And our thanks to you, Mr. Winkles, and your committee for everything you all did too.
Thank you, Council.
Making this dream possible.
And I had asked Sergio to come in to present him with the council, but he didn't come in, but we'll do when he comes in. Anything else to come before the council, please?
Mayor and Council, Chris Meyer, you have Executive City Manager. I'm very excited and pleased to announce that we have our new Finance Director in place and already the ground running. Mr. Charles Nino comes to us from El Paso. He has been his 20-year plus career in finance accounting with a specialty he's working with some government entities in El Paso. So we're very pleased and ecstatic to have him here.
Welcome, sir.
I appreciate it.
I have one other thing. On the agenda for your executive session, you have the performance evaluation of the municipal court judge, Ms. Martina Mendoza. Her appointment is 2 years, but you have the option of evaluating her on an annual basis. She is here tonight, but at some point I imagine she probably want to go home. So, thank you.
Mayor and Council, Sarah Nichols again. Sorry. I just wanted to remind everyone that we will not have a second council meeting this month, so this is the solo meeting this month, and our next one will be on December 12th. I believe.
Mayor and Council, Officer Nellis, a community engagement specialist. Just want to let y'all know that we did have our first meeting of our Youth Advisory Commission. We have formed our group. We have formed our officers, gotten them together. They will be sworn in next week on the 18th. So we invite you guys to come City Hall on the 18th at 6:30. They will be sworn in and start getting their year plan. But we will present them to you guys on the December 10th meeting so you guys can meet them and get to know who they are. But they're a great group of kids. They're awesome. We're excited. They're excited to get going. Last night they had great ideas of what they want to do. So I'm very excited to have that group, and thanks to council for letting us bring that group on, and we will present their bylaws that they made some changes on, so that we guys can approve them before they can go forward with their year.
Thank you.
And now, can you do an update on the toy drive?
On the toy drive, we did talk to Sally, and I think they told us they already bought 400 toys, right, Sarah?
Yes.
They already collected 400 toys. We have gotten our donations in, so we are coordinating with Sally so we can take a trip so we can buy all the rest of the gifts that we need to buy with the money that's been donated. But we still are seeking donations. If anybody wants to still donate, more than welcome to. They can address the check to Town of Pecos City, or if they want to bring gifts, they can go ahead.
Thank you. Heather, you can put that, Heather, you can put that on the coffee class for next week
Yes, sir.
also.
I changed my mind. Do you have any updates on the COVID restrictions or?
So as of now, I know the governor's order still stands on requiring a mask in any public places. No, the only thing that was added was a couple weeks ago was Leo Hung added the mask mandate for Reeves County, requiring a mask in any public space and imposing $1,000 fine if you don't have a mask on the business. And I think that fine is on the business if they're caught without a mask. So.
Thank you,
Those are the
Mr.
only-
Mendes.
yeah,
Thank you.
Now, Chief, when we issue tickets or we issue the citations, our judge handles those tickets?
The ones that we have issued did go to the municipal court.
The one Judge Hung puts out is the one that we take care of.
Yes, and we have questioned that as well, being that it is a county court order. Where exactly does that fall? And so, according to Judge Hung, they have talked to the JPs and the municipal judge about handling those citations.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Okay. I have one thing here. I'm pleased to inform you that Seth Thorson, City Manager of City of Pecos, recently received the International City/County Management Association ICMA Credited Manager Candidate designation. He will become an ICMA Credentialed Manager in April 1st of 2021. Mr. Swanson is one of over 1,300 local government management professionals who participated in the ICMA Voluntary Credentialing Program. To be credentialed by ICMA, a member must have significant experience as a senior management executive in local government, have earned a degree, preferably in public administration or a related field, and demonstrated a commitment to high standards of integrity and to a lifelong learning and professional development. The credentialing program is based on the ICMA practices for effective local government leadership. Congratulations, Mr. Swanson.
Thank you.
Anything else to come before the council? We're good? All right. Okay, we'll go on to consent agenda E. Approve the minutes for the October 22, 2020 regular council city meeting. Approve the minutes of the October 19, 2020 regular Pecos 4B Economic Development Corporation board meeting. Approve expenditure report. Approve October PD call log. Do you want to review that, please? motion to approve, please?
I make the motion, Mayor, to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, need a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Perez, second by Councilwoman Trujillo to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, we're going to F, non-consent. Discuss, consider resolution 20-11-R, canvassing November 3rd, 2020 special city election results. Ms. Nichols?
Okay, Mayor and Council, on November 3rd, 2020, we held a special general election to fill a spot to serve out the remainder of Council Member Seat 5's position. And for that election, there was a total of 2,616 votes cast in our election, and I'm going to read out the results. So for Councilor, for Seat 5, there were 1,653 votes for Ms. Valerie M. Trujillo and 963 votes for Ms. Angelica Marie Valenzuela, making Ms. Valerie M. Trujillo the winner of the election, and she will serve out the remainder of the council member seat 5 term, which will expire in May of 2021. So I just need to ask for your approval to approve my canvassing of these election numbers.
So we'll do it as a motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve resolution 20-11-0 canvassing November 3rd, 2020 special city election results presented by our city secretary.
Second. Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Orona, second by Councilman Vaca, to approve canvassing votes for special election. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Oath of office, Ms. Trujillo. Yay. Okay. You can't say no to
Come
that.
on up.
You can't pick and choose. You gotta say yes.
Miss, please raise your right hand. Miss Valerie M. Trujillo, do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully execute the duties of office of Council Member Seat 5 of the state of Texas, and will to the best of your ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state, so help you God? Okay, well, it is my pleasure and my honor to introduce Miss Councilwoman, Miss Valerie Trujillo. Sure. Put that on file for me. Perfect, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Ira. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay, we're going to F3, presentation and discussion on Pecos Bills baseball team and the Pecos Regional Sports Complex. Swanson?
Mayor and Council, Mr. Andrew Dunn was unable to make it, and he sends his regrets, but he did ask that I present on his behalf some of the items that he wished to discuss. And in its biggest overview form, Mr. Dunn would like to bring a Pecos team to the Pecos League. This would be a minor league team. They're very impressed with the baseball complex. Hopefully everyone got a chance to see the video as you came in that was playing. It's coming along very nicely. It is top of the line. The Pecos League had approached the community about 10 years ago, but at that time were unsuccessful in securing a field to play. But at this time they're willing to revisit it. And you'll see in your packet they've got a couple different attachments there, including their logo that they presented 10 years ago. It's a fun one where Pecos Bill is roping the baseball with a snake. So, you know, very much at home here. And ultimately, what they're wanting to do is to bring a league here, expand the league. We would expect to have what they have here described as a shortened season would be 64 games, 32 of those would be at home. The reason why this is so important is as we're building this baseball complex out of the hotel occupancy tax money, we have to be able to put heads in beds in order to justify that we spent that much money and to basically bring that money back into our hoteliers here. My understanding is that a full season would be 80 games. With that, 32 in the current and 40 in the expanded schedule are guaranteed home games. And they play this season day after day after day, so they knock this out during the summer. With the way that they have scheduling, it would still allow us to use the facility for other tournaments and other activities, concerts, things of that nature. And so this really is a good opportunity in my opinion. And so I'm here just to request from you the opportunity to start negotiations with Mr. Dunn concerning bringing the minor league team here. Obviously, any final contract that would come out of that would come to the council for your final approval before it is executed.
Mayor and council, Alpine's had one of these teams since the league was started, and it's very popular. And they set it up as a nonprofit corporation, so corporations can give money to the nonprofit to help pay for the cost of it. But there's several hundred people that go to all those games. It's really a good part of the community there. And they have these teams in Carlsbad and Roswell in addition to Alpine.
I guess it's kind of answering my question. What league or what area are they going to cover for the teams coming?
So it's called the Pecos League, but let me read how far it covers. So it has 2 divisions, and I'm going to read off the cities where they have teams currently. In the Mountain Division, it includes Colorado Springs, Pueblo, Colorado, Trinidad, Colorado, Santa Fe, New Mexico, Garden City, which I believe is New Mexico, Roswell, New Mexico, Alpine, Texas, and Alamogordo. In the Pacific Division, it has San Rafael. These are all in California for the Pacific Division. San Rafael, Martinez, Monterey, Bakersfield, Wasco, Santa Cruz, and Tucson, Arizona. So not all in California. And so
with them staying in the hotels, would that count toward the occupancy?
it would. Yeah, so anytime a team traveled here and stayed in either a hotel or even a man camp, it would count.
Okay.
So right now, we're not establishing a contract yet.
No, we're not. This would be just simply to agree to start having those conversations and getting it formalized of what it would look like.
I know ESPN several years back had a series on the Pecos League. I'm going, what? Pecos League? But it's here now.
Yeah, back when there was a Pecos Colts or something like that, they had a team way back then. 'Cause I used to go to those games when I had an uncle that played in those. So it's popular. Every Sunday afternoon, that's when they play.
The staff that they're going to hire has nothing to do with the staff that we're going to hire to oversee the baseball complex.
That's correct. And so part of their proposal, and this is all subject to negotiation, everything that they've got in their proposal is subject to negotiation, but basically they would want to come in, they would be responsible for cleaning the field, managing the field. Where it would correlate with our employees is the scheduling of those other events and making sure that we're not double booking or at least not using the championship field on those dates.
I think the only question in the negotiation was this, the beer sales. I don't know what we had agreed regarding beer and alcohol sales there. I don't think we even discussed that yet to this point. We will have to eventually because we're gonna start creating contracts.
Well, and it is located, as per my understanding, it is located in the one wet commissioner's area. What do they call it? Precinct? That's the word we're looking for. And so technically it's allowed in Reeves County there. There were lots of conversations when we were looking at what was known as the Taj Mahal. As you can see in the picture, the Taj Mahal is not quite as big as it was originally. Of whether we wanted to have a restaurant and allow beer and sales of that nature. Where this would be a little bit more of a tightened timeline for specific events, I think that it needs to be on the table as an option. It would be, with the way that this complex is set up, it would be controlled because everything is fenced off. And we would probably still limit BYOB.
One thing, say, like, I think what some of the preliminary discussions we were having was that if we're having kid tournaments, no beer sales at all.
Right.
But if we're having an adult tournament, if they say they got a game and they're playing over here, we need to define that. No sales or whatever we decide, but we do need to visit that.
Okay.
And I have a question. Are we still, or have we made contact with those, the people that will run our facility of professionals?
We haven't made contact with them, but we have found some contact information, and we also have a lead on another, which is actually through the ASSSA, which is one of the leagues for those ages.
Yes.
And that's also a very, looks like that could be a viable solution as well, because they're very interested in bringing as many tournaments to Pecos as they possibly could. And if through that organization, we have a meeting scheduled on the 19th, I believe, just next week, next Thursday. Holly?
With USSSA?
Yeah.
That was, it's going to be after the 30th?
After the 30th, okay. Anyways.
It's USSSA.
Okay.
Yeah. It's based on language.
Okay, thank you.
and
Now I'm in the know.
Yeah, and the reason I bring that up is that for what we're spending, the $18 million, we need it to be run professionally because they have the contact. We don't. Even if we have somebody locally but they don't have contacts like these people. And these people, for them, going through a professional management like that, they don't get paid until they fill this thing up. That's the only way they get paid.
Yeah.
So that takes a headache off of us.
And even if it ends up being a zero sum for the city, where we're not necessarily making money off of it, but we are meeting our obligations for the hotel occupancy tax, that's where we're legally obligated to.
But the other thing that it does, look at this thing. Just 3 fields and it looks nice with all the dirt around. When everything is finished and all that, there's people going to be wanting, other motels to come in, hopefully restaurants. We're already preparing 285 for this stuff.
Well, I've already nicknamed this the Oasis because
yeah.
you drive out there in the middle of the desert and then all this green. It's beautiful.
And there's a lot of potential here, just like what Midland did with their sport complex. And look at that area. I played softball there for years in Midland. And when they developed that baseball field, that area was dead except for sand. Then all of a sudden here comes this, and now now they got housing, professional buildings, oil field companies. And we can have the same, especially being we're 285, Interstate 20, man.
Yep.
And then if we do that truck route, it could open up.
Yep.
We just gotta play it smart. Play it smart.
Absolutely.
And for the money we're spending, man. And look at that thing. I drive by there every Sunday just to go look at it. I'll tell you what, I got blown away by the county. Their domes.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know they had a football field out there.
Yeah.
Jeez, that thing is nice.
Yes.
I wish I was young again. But it's nice. Look at what we're doing for Pecos. Look at our new store. We ought to be proud of that, man. That store looks nice. We sat there the other night, the night before opening. We went driving. I'm looking around like, man, this doesn't look like Pecos at all. And we can develop all that. And this is going to help bring it in. And then with the county offering to build a swimming pool, geez, we could be swimming in the dough without the oil field.
I have one last comment. Have we thought about the shooting range that's north of the complex?
We have had conversations, and we're still trying to help the SO find another location. That's a much longer conversation to be had, but yes, I think it was the first week that our contractors broke ground. They had some shells flying by them. So, They put an end to that, but yeah, it won't be able to continue to operate in that location.
On that note, maybe we could, the county and the city could get together and, Chief, where do y'all have yours? The shooting, where do y'all?
We currently have our range, it's just off of F Street and Alamo, so it's been there for years. It is leased property that we do lease. And once SO was kind of made aware that there was construction, they have been allowed to use our range.
Maybe we can either help in a lease agreement between the county and the city, or try to find a place between the two entities to buy and set up something a little bit more professional. That way maybe you can have tournaments with other cities and the sheriff's office and other counties to have a little competition between, law enforcement.
Yeah. Well, it would be great to have a shoot house. It would also be nice to have an indoor range. Those are things that we have discussed, but we haven't come up with funding for that quite yet.
Hopefully next year the thing will pick up and we'll get some more.
Thank you, Chief. So, are there any objections to me continuing conversations?
No,
Okay.
sir.
This isn't on the agenda as a vote. I just want to make sure before I go spending time there. Okay, then we shall do so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to F4, presentation Chevron and Noble merger. I don't think Greg is here.
No, Ms. Kelm and Ms. Baird were unfortunately unable to make it. But I do have a letter that actually came just today that I would like to read. It is from Chevron, Ms. Carrie Baird. And in it she says, Dear Mr. Sorensen, Chevron is pleased to provide the town of Pecos City with this investment of $28,000 to help you achieve your goals to serve the community, including improving community amenities and recreational opportunities. Please keep me posted on activities and initiatives in Pecos. We wish you all the best. This is certainly not the first donation that we've received from Chevron, but we greatly appreciate their ongoing philanthropy and their commitment to Pecos. So they did send us a check for $28,000 today, and we thank them for their generosity.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to F5. Excuse me, discuss amending resolution 20-06-01R, setting intermodal shipping containers permit rates. Mr. Alderman, did you discuss that?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Doug.
Well, I just wanted to say, Councilman Arnott brought this up, but this is kind of my world, so that's why I came up.
Yes,
So,
sir.
any questions you have?
I guess I can speak more right now as a citizen, because I work for a company that's in a C1, and that container's painted, blends in with the property, and we're paying what, $200 some odd every 6 months.
250, yes, sir.
And then for 2 years, and then after 2 years, we gotta get rid of it. Okay, and then there are some houses. One particular house has one, whether it be between St. Catherine's and Gibson. These guys are painted, matches the fence, so it looks good. But if you go around the areas of the town, there's a lot of very, very eyesores around the town, and we're trying to hit businesses or individuals that are keeping it up, keeping the property clean, keeping the property neat, painted. And I think we need to, personally, I think we need to revisit this. Maybe change it if they keep it within compliance of painting it and, whatnot. We're punishing people that buy these things that are very useful and usable, and will deteriorate very, very little throughout the years. And I know that when we first discussed it, we said no on residential, but that one particular resident, you go look at it, it looks nice. I don't see a problem with it. But you go down 3rd Street by, Sycamore and Peach, there's 2 blocks worth of junk cars, And I know that you and I had that discussion on Elm Street and 10th, or 11th.
Yes, sir.
A house, this guy built you can see his peak of roof 10 blocks away. And I know that's allowable, but still it's out of place.
I wished it wasn't allowable, but
Yes,
I
sir.
couldn't find any ordinance to stop it.
Oh, the one I thought it was a church.
Yeah.
That's what I've
I
nicknamed it the
church, and then I
cathedral.
went by there and I saw this guy way up there, and I said, what are you doing? Okay, never mind, it's not a church.
Kent and Ash,
Okay,
yeah.
I know that.
Yeah, You know, so.
Yeah, you would think it's a church, because that's what I've nicknamed, it's the cathedral.
And
So.
it's very close to us.
So by rethinking, you rethinking zoning wise, you're
Zoning-wise.
rethinking maybe, putting something in the bylaws that say you have to keep it up a certain
Yes, sir.
way,
That's what I'm doing. Like I said, right now it's up for discussion.
Those things last a lot longer than the ones that we build or we buy. And we have to upkeep those, you know, the ones like, I bought one from, at the end of, for Bell Motels, I bought a big 32, not a Connex, but I bought a building, a wooden building, but if I don't upkeep it, that thing's gonna deteriorate.
And what do you use it for?
Storage.
So, and those metal seat crates are only used for storage, you know. I know when we
It is less
originally
than that
came into
longer.
the council that, when I came into the council, that they were trying to build those houses over there, those secrets. And I think that's where this started, of trying to keep them out, you know, and I still agree with that. Although I've seen the renditions of what they did in Arizona, that looks great. That's like-
There's a lot of uses for those things.
But,
And as a staff, I'm willing to change whatever we need to. It's just, all the feedback I've ever gotten from the council is that they didn't want them in residential or commercial. They basically wanted to keep them in industrial. But whatever y'all decide, I mean, we'll make it, we can make that
And
happen.
the complaints I'm getting, this Councilman Saldana alluded to it, is that, well, they go buy the wooden ones, they have to upkeep them, some people don't, they start deteriorating, they start looking bad. I have this seat crate over here, metal, I paint it, it stays upright, it doesn't deteriorate, it doesn't rust, you know, so is there a fairness in there? We need to look at, you know. So that's, from that angle is what I'm trying to approach for this. Especially like for C1, I know what Walmart is in C1 or C2.
C1, yes.
Yeah. And you know, and they're paying for the shipping containers, and what we're saying is, in 2 years, you gotta get rid of it. Well, they done spent 2 years worth of $20 every 6 months. Now we're gonna force them to build something, and they may not build. But to me, it's like we done taken somebody's money and forced them to do something, and, you know, that's, you know, and yet, I see a lot of that dilapidated buildings around, and a lot of dirty blocks, dirty streets, and dirty properties, and what are we doing there? People that are trying to.
Now, we would negotiate it in 2 years, of course, instead of just cutting it off, right? I mean,
No, that-
surely we come back to the council to see if they wanted to continue that before it
Well,
gets cut
as
off.
the current
No, sir.
ordinance is written, 2 years, it's gotta be gone.
Yeah.
And the thought process behind that was, if they need it for that long, for 2 years, they need to go ahead and build so we can get taxes off it. I mean, that was the thought process when I wrote that. If y'all feel that
Yeah, the only
Please
problem with
change.
that is like Walmart. Walmart doesn't own that building, so they can't build. They can't build, and if that's their storage for their extra stuff, especially with the holidays coming, where are they gonna put it? The first thing they're gonna do, they'll probably close their doors if they don't have anywhere where they can. Trucks don't run every day over there. I don't think. I don't know.
So the ones they sell over there at the end of town, those wooden ones.
yes, sir.
I buy it, bless you. I buy it, I bring it in my house or to my yard. Is that taxable? You're saying
It's
we're
part
supposed
of-
to- Sir?
They pull a permit for it and everything, so, I mean, it becomes part of that,
But is it added to the tax base?
yes.
Okay. Well, we can
Because
why can't we
I had to
just
get a
say
permit
that?
to get mine. And even just to power it up, it cost me more to power it up than it did to buy it. Because it had to be,
Inspected.
by code.
Yeah.
So what they did, I could have done myself, but it doesn't work.
Not only that, something that is pretty, I mean, does this happen in other towns where they do have containers in residential areas?
Most,
Do we know?
I can speak to the city I came from. We saw what was happening in Midland, and we wrote an ordinance to pretty much ban them unless it was industrial, because of the fact that they were starting to pop up and people were living in them, and they weren't making them pretty like the renderings that they were just living in them, cutting a hole in the side, putting a window air conditioner in there. So there are some ordinances in West Texas that prohibit or at least restrict where they can go. So, I mean, the ordinance we have now is not out of the norm.
And I haven't seen that many. The only time we've seen is that one that I've talked about that's behind St. Agnes, between St. Agnes, St. Agnes, Silver before it's not. St. Catherine's and Gibson's.
Yeah.
And then I think Jared Congress' mother has one. Those are the two that only popped up.
Yep.
So it's not, they're pretty expensive, you know. And the gentleman that I'm talking about, he said, man, I'm willing to put a roof and put it part of my fence, do whatever I need to do, you know, to make it. That's all we need to do is to change the code to where we can tax it as it is, like a regular stick storage facility, you know. Why not? It's more of a tax base for us for the city.
What's on the agenda for tonight is
Just to discuss.
amending permit rates, so
Yeah.
bring back something
Yep.
for us to see.
Yep. Okay.
So, the direction I'm getting is you want to see something about letting them in C1 and residential with provisions.
With provision, yes, sir.
Okay.
And definitely not to make it into an apartment or a back room for people to live in. That's definitely.
Only solely for storage?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you.
You got it, Mr. Downey?
Yes. Since we only have one meeting in December, would the council be opposed to coming in January with it?
Yeah, give us time.
Yeah,
And we
okay.
didn't have pressure.
Maybe you can see what's out there.
Right.
Uh-huh.
I can look at a few other ordinances from cities around here and see what they do.
Thank you, Don.
Yes, sir.
Move on to F6, discuss water rates charged to the Reeves County Golf Course. Is Councilman Ordonez?
Okay, talking to Paul, you know, Commissioner Paul Hinojos, you know, we decided, or we agreed upon selling them water. Talking to Paul, you know, that used to be our golf course. And then they took over it when the city couldn't handle it anymore. And now that they got the water back running, but Paul's suggestion is that they use the water in emergency purpose only, without charging them. And I don't see a problem with it, especially in lieu of the fact that they're willing to give us $4 million for a swimming pool. You know, and Paul said we could sit with them and discuss what we consider as emergency. You know, it's not gonna be an everyday use, it's only gonna be an extreme emergency for that, to help them out. We help the golf course stay green, it stays open, pro shop stays open, the sales are there, our tax bases, our tax revenue book is there. But the most important thing that I think is time for cooperation between them and us, and they're showing cooperation by the $4 million they're willing to give us for the pool.
Let's get it first.
Sir, ma'am?
Let's get it first.
No, let's come to an agreement on both. You know, they're willing, they already said it, the guy over there, Ron,
Yeah, you brought it up to me.
you know, so if they're willing to do that, you know, we should be willing to cooperate, you know, show cooperation between the entities. You know, I wish we could do it with all, the hospital district, the school, you know, we tried getting them to help us with the traffic lights, you know, I don't know how that's going, but those are the things we as council members need to push on them also, that, hey, it's all the same tax base. We're just split it up, you know, it's the same citizen paying the taxes is what we're working on. We're trying to improve the city. So to me, it's Paul said, you know, we can sit down and discuss what would constitute an emergency use, not an everyday use, but under something critical that they need to water the fields, you know, at no charge. You know, so.
And the thing is that golf course belongs to the city.
I don't know if
Did we give it to the county, or are they just running it?
I believe we needed it to them.
We gave it to them?
I believe so.
They asked for it,
when the city couldn't take care of it.
but they still asked
So
for it.
if it belonged to the city,
Or
would we charge ourselves for the water?
Yes.
Yes, we
We
do.
would?
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
You guys like we do everything?
Yes.
So, part of the reason for that is because the water and sewer fund are proprietary funds, which means that They have to stand alone. If we were to not charge the county, we certainly could, but we would need to reimburse the utility fund out of the general fund, which again, you make a strong argument on $4 million, how much water is $4 million equal to. And so we can certainly come up with what that framework would need to look like, with the understanding that we would just pay ourselves back.
Even if we charge them something less than what we put out the table the first time.
Well, I think we ended up on $1 per thousand at a last meeting. We can certainly come back with some additional information and framework for what that might look like.
Yeah, and that would be set up a little committee between councilmen where it wouldn't interfere here until it's time for to set up the rule, and that way they can actually just discuss that and see how it can come together.
They don't use well water?
Yes,
they do. The problem is that the well went down for a couple different reasons, and so they were without water while they've been trying to get these new grass plugs to take hold.
And they happened just at the time that they planted the new grass and they needed water.
And it was off.
So he's just saying that, in case of future emergency, and that's.
So we'll look at something and bring back to the council?
Yep.
and they're already hooked up to our water lines, right?
Well, that was part of the discussion. From all accounts that we can tell, they still have I believe, 4-inch water meter. But there was some question as to whether or not it was even functional, given how old it was. It probably has not been exercised in whenever they took over the golf course. Was probably the last time it got used. So we'd have to look at that interconnect a little bit to make sure that they would be able to receive water in an emergency.
Okay, we're going to at 7 discuss water and sewer rates. Also.
Okay. Did a little bit of research throughout the little area of ours. Pretty much Fort Stockton, Kermit, Andrews. Some of these towns, they got a fixed rate on their sewer. We do an actual, correct? We do an actual on the sewer rate.
We do an actual on sewer rate.
So I'm still getting some concerned calls from citizens about, we're still killing them, for lack of better phrasing. So I'd like to see if we can make a study and see if we can revise this and go back maybe to possibly a fixed rate. Not a winter rate, because the winter rate that's what we got away from.
Yeah.
So, in the winter time, people use less water, but maybe we can visit and get some more studies. I didn't bring the paperwork or not, but I got a printout of what they charge. Kermit, Fort Stockton, Andrews, Monahan.
And this is just set.
Sir? There's just separate, yeah.
So they have a set water and a set sewer?
Well, the water's like ours. For
The sewer is just a
begins
certain.
at 0 to 2,000 is this price, and then from 2001 to 3,000 is this. But the sewer is pretty much set for the price.
Because we used to do that
Yeah.
October, November, December thing, and then we base it on that for the rest of the year.
Yeah, the winter usage.
And we changed that because
We found in bond covenants of at least one of our bonds, if not more, that they wanted us to charge by actual use. And so that doesn't prohibit us from lowering the cost per actual use, but we'll go back and we'll do some additional research. The bond covenants, similar to the last discussion on the golf course, when you owe people money, they kind of get to make some of those rules. And so we'll make sure and do our due diligence and report back on that.
Thank you.
You can hold off till January, because I know we're tight with everything else going into the holidays and whatnot.
There are a few things going on.
Not quite a bit.
Okay, we're going to take off F8 and F9. We're going to F10. Update on West Pecos project additions, financing, development, interest, master plan, and West Pecos Management District land purchase. Mr. Pence.
Mayor and Council, we have good news for all of y'all tonight on the West Pecos project. It's been quiet over the last few months, and y'all are probably curious as to what's been going on. And we've been working hard with our financial advisor, Laura Radcliffe from Stifel, and with Tim Austin, our outside lawyer from Houston. And we came up with a plan that everybody's signed off on and that has been approved by the West Pecos Management District Board. And what the plan is that the board of the district has approved an offer to purchase from the city all the land that y'all have bought. And in addition to paying you back for the cost of that land, we'll pay you back for the cost that y'all have put into the some of the other soft costs into that, the consulting fees and attorney's fees and all of that. And the stifle will be able to issue bonds to pay for that, so that the city, in a period of time, probably about 3 months, would be able to get your $6.5 million back into your utility fund?
It's split between utilities.
Anyway, you'll get all your money back. And then the district has developers that are ready to come in and start buying land from the district to start doing some development. And one gentleman here, I'm going to get him on the phone here. We have another one here, Mr. Love, John Love, former mayor pro tem from Midland, and his group are interested in coming in and doing some development of some housing. And so what we have now is we're at the beginning of finally being able to achieve the vision that y'all have pushed for the West Pecos project, being able to have a master plan community. And it's not going to be taken, the burden will be taken off the city, but the development out there will still have to be done according to the master plan. So you're not going to have junk out there. In addition to that, there's another group that wants to come in, and they're here tonight to talk to you about the fact that they also have contracts to buy 1,300 acres directly north of West Pecos, on the north side of Interstate 20, on either side of the Business 20 interchange. And they're going to build a 25,000 barrel a day refinery there and an oil loading and unloading platform. So they're only going to be able to do that by them coming in and joining in West Pecos, so that valuation of that refinery would be able to be used by West Pecos to backstop the bonds, so West Pecos could then issue bonds to build roads and water and sewer. And once again, all of this would be done without being any burden on the city of Pecos or the current taxpayers of Pecos. So let me see if is Laura Radcliffe on the phone? Yes. I'll ask her to call in.
Welcome to Google Meet. Enter the meeting pin followed by the pound key.
Hello, Rob.
Have you called in?
Rob?
Have you called in to the phone?
You're joining a call
Yes,
with 2 other
we're
people.
not hearing anything.
Okay, you should be here now because we just dialed in ourselves.
Okay.
Ms. Radcliffe, can you hear me now? On the
Hello?
Ms. Radcliffe, can you hear me now? This is Rod. Laura?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
You're live in front of the Pecos City Council. And gentlemen and ladies, this is Laura Radcliffe with Stifle Securities Firm, who's the securities firm for West Pecos. Laura, would you please explain to them the concept of the Stifle issuing bonds so that the West Pecos Management District can use the proceeds from those bonds to pay Pecos for the land, and then use that money for other things for West Pecos.
So good evening, everybody. And I believe my colleague Brendan Ross is on the phone with me. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So, in terms of the mechanics, there are some limitations regarding what a management district, what forms of repayment a management district can utilize to support bonds for land acquisition. And one of the repayment streams of revenue that the district can use includes sales to third party. And so our concept is to sell bonds. The district itself would sell bonds to be repaid by primarily land sales to the next purchaser. And in order to do that, we need to be able to demonstrate to potential bond investors that these future land investors will materialize. And so we'll talk a lot about the development that is anticipated to occur within the district. We'll have some money from initial land sale that will demonstrate interest in West Pecos. So we'll have demonstrated interest, we'll have money that results from those land sales, and we'll have a variety of reports and indications of what may develop within the area that investors will use to make the decision on whether or not they want to invest in these bonds. And so the bonds are, considered relatively speculative, as would be any new district bond issue. These are very common across Texas. And while the market for certain bonds was affected by COVID and the resulting economic decline, certainly what it's done to sales tax, there is still a market for these specific bonds. It is not as deep as the broader municipal market, but it's a specialized buyer group. And they've been actively buying our bonds. So assuming that this project, I think you're going to hear more tonight about some of the developments within the district. Assuming that we do our due diligence on the district, and Mr. Ponton already has our initial due diligence questionnaire for the district. We'll do some initial due diligence on the developments that are being proposed. There are some other studies and reports that are required by bond investors to help them make their decisions. As soon as all of the prerequisites to issuing bonds have occurred, then we go to market. And like I said, there has been an active market, and we'll demonstrate that these prerequisites have been met. Then we look forward to a successful bond sale. And like I said, a number of these prerequisites are already being addressed. So this is in process. And I guess finally I wanted to remind folks that as a bond underwriter, people is only paid upon the completion of a successful bond issue. So when we are working on something, it is absolutely with the goal and the intent of successfully selling the bond so that the city can be repaid for these land purchases. That was a long answer to your question, but I'm happy to answer further questions if it helps.
But in other words, Stifel believes this will happen and that y'all will be able to finance this transaction.
We do. I think that, the questions that I can't answer at this point is what will it take to get the bond sold in terms of interest rate. But that's what the bond sale process is all about. It's about determining the interest rate. And between now and then, we have to do our very best to structure a bond issue that checks all the boxes that the bond investors need, both to buy the bonds and to buy them at the most attractive price we can get.
Okay, Laura, now I've invited Scott Deskins to join this call because one of the things you said is that the repayment of the bonds comes from selling land to third-party investors that want to come in and do some development. Mr. Deskins, are you on the line?
I am indeed.
Would you please introduce yourself to the mayor and city council of Pecos and tell them who you are?
Hello, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Scott Deskins. I reside in Fort Worth, Texas. and my company, SCC Development, is interested in developing all or a portion of the West Pecos Management District.
And tell us a little bit about your experience in the past.
Okay. I started SCC Development in 1990 out of Houston, Texas, primarily doing very small tenant build-to-suit businesses for retailers, which evolved into more or less power center business up until 2008. Expanded our office to both Austin and San Antonio, and now in Fort Worth. Up until 2008, we primarily focused on retail development. And as you all know, 2008 kind of hit everybody pretty hard, and that was an opportunity for us to go out and diversify. And in doing so, we got into the medical development business, we got into the multifamily business, and we also got into the industrial business as well. So when the opportunity came for us to talk about Pecos, although 1,300 acres is a tall task in Pecos, Texas, I think over a 20 or 25 year period, this thing can probably be built out in its entirety.
Now, Mr. Deskins, the discussions we've had is so that when the district owns the property, then the district would turn around and sell you property based on what the pieces that you think you could develop in the near term. Is that right?
Correct.
And then tell them a little bit about, you've had some contact with Odessa College and some multifamily and some single-family developers. Tell them some of those contacts, if you would, please.
I have. So when we sat down and met with Rod, the idea initially was how do we get some higher education on the property, and how do we get some entertainment value that's associated with it. And frankly, I heard a presentation earlier about the Pecos Bills. I contacted the Pecos league commissioner, Andrew Dunn, to try and locate a team in Pecos. Initially, we were considering building a facility for them, but based on their short schedule and doing a ground up development, it really didn't make much sense for us to do that. So I started talking to Howdy Lisenby, who obviously is no longer with the city, about locating a team there. It made a whole lot more sense in order to put them in the elaborate sports complex that you all are building, and apparently that seems to be getting some legs, which is great for the community, and we're happy to hear that you all are making progress on that. We reached out to Odessa College, who, as you all know, is currently in a big box retail vacant facility. I reached out to them initially to see if they had any interest in locating out here on the property and potentially consolidating their operations that are in Andrews and Monaghan, particularly in Andrews, where mainly their nursing facility, going hand in hand with the expansion of the hospital. Thought that might be the best idea for them, and they were very anxious about pursuing an opportunity here, building a 40,000 square foot facility, 2 stories. They had previously used a bonding company that coincidentally the gentleman that they used now works for Stifle. So Laura Radcliffe has provided kind of a booklet to show Odessa College what the financing looks like. The project size will be between $10 and $12 million, and we're working currently with them and with Rod and the West Pecos Management District to see how we can finance their consolidated project and get them on the property. We've also been in contact with a HUD 441 developer that does multifamily development. If you're not familiar with that potential or that 441 program, it's basically a HUD loan that is a self-amortizing loan over a 43-year period of time. So we're diligently pursuing that as well. We are site planning, and we have site planned a 200-lot single-family development, which will be potentially be done in phases. We contacted home developers in the Panhandle, particularly Midland, Odessa, Lubbock. I've got a group here in Fort Worth that we're going over the plan right now to determine if that makes any sense in terms of how quickly we can get lots online and how quickly they can develop those single-family homes. I will say on a side note that what Ron was talking about earlier, and I think most folks are there to talk about the refinery, having that project there and having this facility of a workforce really does blend very well for the potential of what we're proposing to do on a phased project on the entirety of the West Pecos Management District property.
So Scott, to simplify things for the council, once the West Pecos Management District purchases this land from the city, then you're willing to turn around and purchase smaller pieces of that land from the district for these developments. And then that money would be used to start repaying the bonds that the district would issue to have paid the city for the land. Right?
Correct. That's the concept. Yes.
Good. Thank you. Let me now introduce ISPO to talk about their project, which is they want to double the size of West Pecos by joining their 1,300 acres on the north side of 20 as an industrial, high-end industrial park and refinery. But bringing them in is going to stabilize the tax base at West Pecos so we can do all of these other projects for the housing.
Yeah, Mr. Jarrett Vick. Yeah, my name is Jarrett Vick. I'm a principal at ISMO. I've actually grew up in Alpine and played a lot of sports up here. We never played at baseball fields that nice. But a lot of good memories here. Yeah, our plan, we're actually very far along with it, is to put a 25,000 barrel a day refinery. We find, lucky enough, God put a very nice type of oil in this under the ground here, and the markets is going to to provide to serve North and Northwest Mexico. We're also putting in a 25,000 a day fractionator, which converts. Obviously we pull the propanes out and butanes, and those we go into the same market. We think that's the perfect spot for it. We can load by rail and deliver. We're within 300 miles of where we need to go. And brought along our young Aggie engineer. He loves making presentations. We had him last night. I had him whittle it down to like under 5 minutes.
I like to talk a lot, so.
He does. I rode 5 hours with him here. I knew more about him than I've learned in the last year. But this is Nathan Batts.
Nathan, get up there and tell him, give me your presentation. Oh.
Howdy, everybody. I'm Nathan Bass. I'm an engineer and also in finance with Garrett. He's my new boss, friend, and everything now, so I've been working for him for a while. I'm here to talk about what we're going to be doing with this mow and what our vision is and what we've been working on so far. So first, to introduce everybody, Jared made an introduction for himself first, but Alex Gutierrez is our other principal, and he wasn't available to be here tonight, but he spent the majority of his professional career in the oil and gas industry as well. We've built a really fantastic advisory board with lots of great connections and real good go-getters. So we have Carlos Gutierrez, not the same as the other one. He's the co-founder and co-president of Artha Capital. And we have Carlos Carrillo, who spent 27 years at the National Oil Company of Mexico, Pemex. Eugenio, he's the general counsel and secretary of the board of directors for BBVA Latin America. Hasham, he spent 37 years at Oxy, which is a huge player out here in the Delaware Basin. And T. Rowe Patterson, who's the former CEO of Basic Energy Services. So, quick little map on the bottom right is kind of illustration of what we're capturing. So on the star we have where we're planning to build the Pecos refinery that he was talking about a minute ago, just a few miles west of here, right along I-20, and we're wanting to sell ultralight sulfur diesel, jet fuel, and propanes to northwest Mexico, because there's a bit of an inefficiency in that. They have to normally ship it all the way down to Corpus and then load on tankers and just move it all around the market. So by having this efficiency of just taking the oil here, processing it here, and then shipping it down to northwest Mexico, we're going to be saving a lot of money that way, and also we're going to be reducing the greenhouse emissions by 914,000 tons of CO2 per year, which in this modern kind of conversation, that is a very good thing we're very proud of. Short-term jobs during construction, we're going to be adding about 7,000 jobs during that stage, but long-term, permanent, solid, high-paying jobs that will be relatively immune to the cyclicity of the oil and gas prices is about 300, and then as I said, the close to 1 million tons of CO2 per year reduced overall. Right now, in our stage, we're finalizing the engineering with about 2 years of engineering that you've done. Now we're getting finalizing of fundraising, and then we begin construction very soon. Maybe about 2 years for those 7,000 jobs, and then we'll be in operational status.
The construction cost?
About $300 million. So, quick little overview again, just kind of arbitrage that we're capturing, and then we're mainly selling propane, diesel, jet fuel, and then other fuels like marine fuels, and selling it to northwest Mexico. So, thank you.
Got a question?
Questions? Yeah.
We have there's a market for that in Mexico now?
Yes. There's
yeah, we maybe this will maybe match like 10%.
Okay.
So there's
and the reason I asked because when a few years back when I was working for Mobile Oil, we had a pipeline from our facility, and we had a fractionator, and we provided propane to a little facility right there by the Warfield truck stop, right in American Eagle, I think it was called, or something like that, and it was to sell what was it, commercial grade propane to Mexico at that time. This was probably in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
It still is.
And then something happened, and I think it was involved with the guy that ran Coca-Cola for a while, but he's from Mexico. Can't remember his name, but that's what was the involvement. But all of a sudden, that thing fell through because we built in our plant, we built a fractionator, and then we were building a light for that facility because of what they were trying to do. But we were going to provide that propane to the railhead so that they can head out to Mexico. And then something happened, everything got messed up. So
what it could have been,
well before Mexico was deregulated.
Yeah, and that was the deal, because I don't think
It's a lot easier for
Pemex was
somebody
still,
to, yeah.
you know, they ran everything, they didn't want no competition.
Well, today, the company that owns that fractionator is smaller than the 25 a day, but I think all of it is going to northern Mexico. Right now, on that map that you see, most NGLs go to Mont Belvieu, south of Houston.
Yes.
And what ends up all the way in northwest Mexico, that's where the lines are. So, and this happens with other fuels too. Those are boats going straight down from south of Houston, and they go to the ports that far south, and then they're trucked upwards of 1,200 miles up to their markets.
Where I see from our terminal, we're gonna do rails, but you're gonna lay a pipeline too? That red.
You know, to see how the growth goes, but yeah, you want to start with the pipeline. I mean, right now the economics, if we can't beat their economics railing from there versus a boat and trucks, we're
yeah. Oh yeah.
We wouldn't have worked on it for the last 2 to 3 years.
Right. And the reason I ask, because I work.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that fractionator.
So, and we have 4 big gas plants out here.
Right.
Eagle Claw.
Lots of NGLs.
And we're part of the project that's laying the pipeline. We're gonna lay that 30-inch pipeline from I guess Kinosa to somewhere in Houston. But it's I think it's a joint venture between ExxonMobil, Apache, us, and I think BHP or somebody. It's 4 big companies.
Right.
But this would be great for the liquids. The liquids, everything goes through Lone Star, Targa, different facilities like that.
Once this gets proven, it will probably attract other investors to come here and do similar things.
Absolutely.
Instead of shipping all of the hydrocarbons from Pecos to the Gulf Coast, start doing something with them here and ship them into the market.
True.
Yeah, I mean, even in this environmental climate, you know, when you talk to the bankers, they bring up environment, and we did a study, just the savings from transporting all the hydrocarbons from the Delaware Basin to the Gulf Coast, and then transporting it back all the way to these markets up here, saves almost a metric ton of CO2 a year.
Yeah.
What are your locations for the refinery?
Pardon?
What the location? Where? Just out here.
Yeah, west, just west of, what is it? 40. I get mixed up between 404 and 408, but I think it's 404.
404 goes east and west. 408 goes north.
Then just west of 408.
West 408. There's.
We're going to do it where that the existing rail loop.
Yes, sir. I work for the power company.
Okay.
So.
Well, I'm good friends with your boss. Are you in Texas, New Mexico?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Tell him what his boss wants to do up there.
Yeah, they've been wanting to put their regional service center here for 5 years. And we ended up with more land. I bought 300 acres 10 years ago because I thought it was a good spot. So I've been working on this real hard for the last 3 years, but I've been thinking about it for 10. Once you saw the quality of the oil that came out, so and the volumes, and you know, and then the 500 acres west came available, so we thought, okay, we'll put it on the far west side of that, on just east of 408, and you know, and then I'm looking across the road, and just so happened some guys in Fort Worth built a sand loop at the same time. Them and 20 other people were building sand mines in Winkler County, and they, you know, haven't used it. And so there's brand new sidings. We'll need to add a west. You know, we're working with the UP now. We'll have to add a west switch, but it's already there.
Yeah.
And we'll put all the storage.
We have a brand new substation just a ways down.
Absolutely. We are going to be busy here for the next 25 years.
Yeah. We haven't slowed down.
Yeah. And that's, so we have this extra land that goes in, that's separate than us, and which is where, I think Deskins played baseball with this is how small the world it is. Nobody really, we see each other at TCU stuff in Fort Worth and don't really, you know, and then we're talking, and that's how it came up with this extra land. And I'm like, you know, but I don't know how to develop an industrial park. I know there's a need because I get calls from a lot of different companies that want to have a yard where they can rail stuff in. And so I knew Deskins was a developer, and I was like, you know anything about it? He goes, as a matter of fact, I do. And so the rest of that land towards 2119 that'll all be industrial park.
Yep. And right now we were conducting everything to 795 wire, except for the section.
Well, and y'all built that. Yeah, the power. We've got. Yeah.
You got 138 kV transmission line, but there's one that runs through that rail spot,
Right.
It needs to be redone, and that they're looking at redoing that section, but the main lines coming out of the substation is all, and right now it's real low amperage right now, low wise.
But to make all of y'all's plans work, y'all have to come into the West Pecos Management District, so the district can help bring in the utilities and other things that you need for your refinery.
Right.
But then when they come into the district, then what they build on the district, we get the tax and use that to build other infrastructure.
You know, it's interesting. Well, I'm here. I got a question for you. So the 500 acres west of 2119, I did a 99-year lease with a purchase option, and of course, we'll exercise that option probably before the end of the year, or maybe wait for January for whatever reasons they want to. We ended up with that house there. We'd like to use it, but we can't get water turned on because we don't. They said, we don't own it. But I mean, a 99-year lease.
Pretty much owned it.
Yeah.
Logically.
Yeah.
At least in our lifetime.
Is that gray cinder block house on the corner of 408 and 404?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a Deer Valley question, not a City Valley
Yeah.
question.
That's what it is.
So that's not y'all.
There's a business right across the street from that house.
Right.
Yeah, 'cause
We call it the
Yeah, the water line's literally right across the
yeah.
right across the road.
Now I have a question,
Yeah.
and I'm not an oil man or electrician. I don't know refineries. Worry, does it affect the environment of our community? Does it affect anything in the air? Does it affect my water? Does it affect?
No.
Does a refinery affect any of this?
There was a refinery, the technology, just even in the last 5 years, technology refinery, but I mean, you could even look at Artesia or Big Spring, Artesia, the refinery's right there, basically in town.
In town, yeah.
North of Denver, there's I think that's a 250, 300,000 barrel a day refinery. You look at Billings, Montana, they've got 3 refineries right there, almost in the town, right on the Yellowstone River. West of Billings, you have another huge one, and those were built upwards of 80 years ago. I mean, our technology, there's an article written on a new refinery built in North Dakota, and I mean, it's the cleanest refinery in the world. I mean, the technology's gotten to where, and obviously, these days,
Phenomenal regulation.
yeah, you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's.
And I only ask that question because, of course, our community is.
That was an early question with the development board.
Well,
too.
we have a lot of elder
Right.
residents in town, of course, and they don't plan, we ain't gonna move nowhere, we're just gonna die and everything else. And I wanna know maybe we can answer these questions when they start coming up, I say what's gonna happen here.
Right.
And that's what, that's where it came from.
I would be more worried if I lived in Andrews County and they're burying nuclear waste. Yeah, I mean, there's air monitoring equipment, there's water monitoring equipment. If a pipe broke, it's shut it automatically. I mean, there's so much stuff that it's.
Yeah, and everything's like the SCADA system that we want to put on our water lines.
Yeah.
It's throughout there. We got SCADA systems, and that's why my phone is always on, because it's alarming, telling me this and this about what we have out there. We have gas plants. I have 10 compressor stations, big compressor stations. We moved 40, 50 million through a station, going to the plant. South side of Pecos, we got 1 big plant here, 3 on this side, and there's more coming as long as this oil is there, and this opportunity shows up. We got liquid pipelines moving liquid NGLs toward Barstow. From Barstow it goes wherever they have those pipelines.
And of course, we talked about 7,000 workers.
For construction.
How's them?
Well, and Kiewit, the EPC on this, plans on, they've got years, decades of projects out here.
Yeah.
That, I can't get into all the other stuff, but.
And again, just to get an understanding.
Right. No, that's a good question.
I've never dealt with it, I've never dealt with oil or nothing like that, but thank you.
It's an important question.
These are questions that we're gonna be asked by the public.
Right.
Absolutely. And I can give you a card. Rod has my contact information, and anytime y'all want to call and ask questions,
I appreciate you.
May I ask who?
Yeah, like I said, I grew up in Alpine. the last thing, well, I can't say that term, but you don't want to go to the bathroom where where you sleep. So I still, all my family's out here. I'm not doing anything.
Thank you for coming.
Who are you in
Thank you,
contact
sir.
with the TID MP?
Do what?
Who are you in contact?
Neil Walker.
Okay.
I didn't. You know what? We were tailgate partners. We moved to Fort Worth from Midland 3 years ago and met him at a TCU baseball game 10 years ago. Then we ended up being tailgate partners for football games. I didn't even know what Neil did till a couple of years ago. But yeah, you got a good boss.
Good.
Good guy.
Mr. Love, would you come talk to the council for a moment?
Thank you, gentlemen.
This is John Love, former Mayor Pro Tem in Midland, and former president of TML.
Good evening. Good evening.
You're here because you and a partner want to do some single-family development out here.
Yes, I've got and some commercial building if possible. I've got JD King, a company that does a lot of business in Midland, Odessa area, and they're here locally. They have the ability to help Mr. Deskins with his task, and of course my company as well would like to participate. I'm so excited about what's going on here in Pecos. To talk about something that you said, Councilman Saldana, in 1995, the valuation of property tax valuation in Midland was $2 billion. When they built that football stadium in 2015, it had a worth of $12 billion. So it went from $2 billion to $12 billion with a football stadium. So kudos to what you guys are doing. And then just another comment, Councilman Orona, you were talking about looking at the zoning code. I'd recommend that you not just look at that specifically, but you look at your entire zoning code, because with what's happening with the refinery and with the residential and commercial that's about to happen, you do not want to get caught with trying to correct zoning after the fact, because that becomes a nightmare. So those are my suggestions, and I'm really proud and excited about what you guys are doing, and just want to be able to participate and help in any way that I can. Anybody have any questions for myself?
Thank you for coming.
Does anybody have any questions?
Sir, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
I've known him for a long, long time.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Deskins or for Laura Radcliffe?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Mr. Iskins.
So,
thanks for your input.
Thank you.
So so anyway, out of all of this, we have a proposed agreement where the district has proposed to purchase this property from the city.
Very good presentation.
And pay the city about what I told y'all, $6.5 million. Seth came up with the figures that completely pay the city back for the cost of the land, plus the interest, plus the consultant fees.
Who will be hearing from Mr. Austin this evening?
Let me ask you, Tim, are you on the line, Tim Austin?
Yes, I am.
Would you, this is Tim Austin's with Allen, Boone and Humphreys, and he's spoken to the council. If you could explain to the council if this is a out in left field kind of deal, or is this a routine kind of transaction, and if this is something that's possible for Laura Radcliffe and Stifle to get done in the next 3 or 4 months to get the property bought from the city, and what the steps are.
Sure. Let me just say that there's very little about Pecos that's normal and standard. You guys are all by yourself in most categories. But, obviously the district was set up, the West Pecos Management District was set up as a financing tool. So what we did a year ago was to vote a whole lot of bonds to be backed by the taxes of the district, and also could be backed by other revenue sources which could be land sales to developers or other fees or contract payments from like a 380 agreement with the city or 381 with the county and so on. So what we've got in this at the present time is the land that is owned by the city that constitutes the entirety of the district, and we're in a bit of a catch-22 that we need to break out of, which is that we have our entire tax base is tax exempt. So we need to get that land out of title to the city and into taxpayers like developers and homeowners and builders and things like that. To break that cycle, what we've been talking about is the annexation of the land that you were just getting a presentation on for ISMO, and maybe add some other taxable entities in there too, so that we could create a tax base that we could then start to bond off of. So what we're working on right now is to add that land to the district, and the process is it's all legal, really. Once we follow the right steps, then there's no state approval or legislative approval that's required. The only approval to add land to the district is we need to have a request from the property owners that's consented to by any lien holders on the property, which we believe is forthcoming. And we need to get the city to consent to the addition of the land. So we're working on all of that paperwork right now. This kind of process, we have to be very precise about it because it ends up being part of a transcript that goes to the Attorney General when we sell the bond. So we can get to that point, then we'll have a tax base. Then we need to work on getting some projects to finance that the proceeds can then be used to build those projects, but also free up other funds for purchasing the land. So I think that that's eminently doable in the next few months. Our biggest challenge, which I think is not that difficult, is we need to get some certificates and some assistance from the Reeves County Appraisal District to verify the ownership of the land, and they probably just haven't been requested to do that very often in the past, so we're going to work with them to get that done. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I don't know if you wanted me to get into any more specifics than that at this point, Rob.
No, I just wanted you to be able to talk to the council, and if they had questions, they could ask you questions. All right, I'll turn it over to Mr. Sorensen.
Mayor, is it all right if we discuss item F19 at this point?
Which one?
F19 would be the sale of. You want to go ahead and announce that? Would you mind announcing item F19?
Oh, okay, this will go into F19, discuss, consider resolution 20-11-08R, the approval sales of two city tracts, 513 acres and 620 acres to WPMD at cost plus secured interest. Mr. Sampson?
Mayor and Council, this is the tail end of the excellent presentations that we've been seeing. And this has to do with the sale of the land that the city's acquired thus far in getting the West Pecos Municipal Management District up and going. If you recall, we've purchased a 513 acre and a 620 acre property, which puts the West Pecos District at just over 1,100 acres. The city purchased this with the intent of creating this district and of developing it for housing and commercial opportunities. We now have the opportunity to recoup those costs, and at that point the city will be out of the West Pecos ownership partnership, if you would, which would allow the district itself to manage their own destiny. And this is part of that transition of turning it over to them for that purpose. Just to reiterate something that was mentioned earlier, the city, by creating this district through the state, is not liable for any of the activities that the district carries on. And so other than the participation that the city council has already agreed to for property tax and sales tax within the district, that would be the only contribution, if you would. And so any debt, anything of that nature does not reflect upon the city's books by any mention. And so that leaves us free to continue to do our activities of infield development and natural expansion through annexation that we're already undergoing. And so what is being recommended to the council is that, again, with the eye of keeping costs low and remembering that we purchased this property at a relatively low cost, I would recommend that we not try to make a profit, but that we get made whole for this. And with that being said, within the resolution, you'll notice that we have it broken out with some of our incidental costs. And this includes the refinancing costs that we had to do earlier this year, at the beginning of the year. Some of you may recall that we paid off that note and took on the debt ourselves. And so within the resolution for the 620 acres, between the survey costs and other purchasing costs, as well as the interest due to the city, that sale would come to $3,567,686.71. Similarly, for the 513 acres, we would recoup $2,649,622.11. And then the third category that you see down at the bottom is what the city has invested in creating the district and the due diligence to show that it was a viable project and is a viable project, which includes the expenses with our lobbyist, project control, gateway planning, Allen Boone and Humphreys, and the Perryman Group. And all of that together, the subtotal for that would be $434,145.69. And so to make the city whole, including the interest that we have accrued by loaning ourselves the money, we would be asking for a sales price of $6,651,454.51. I do recommend this sale to the Municipal Management District for the purposes of economic development and the future growth of the city.
So we need a motion to approve sale.
The mayor make a motion that we approve resolution 20-11-08R to approve sale of 2 city tracts for 113 acres, 620 acres to the West Pecos Municipal District at cost plus incurred interest, which amounts to $6,651,454.51. Is presented by our city manager.
Okay, have a motion by Councilman Orona, second by Councilwoman Baca, to approve sales of the 2 city tracts, 513 acres and 620 acres, and the amount that's presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
The lower right-hand corner, that's green.
Okay. So, have we discussed F10, F11, F12, F13?
Yes, ma'am. I believe we're ready for F14. That'd be a pleasure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, for the presentation and everything you've done. Now I feel like we undersold it, but okay, we'll go on to F14, discuss consider resolution 20-11-03R, entering an agreement with Park Hill for engineering work associated with obtaining a permit amendment for alternative daily cover and approving contract work in the amount of $17,200. Mr. McKinney?
Mayor, Council, Donnie McKinney, Director of, Director of Environmental Services. As you may or may not be aware, our landfill's filling up fairly quickly. The last estimate I heard was about 10 years that we have left.
That was a year ago.
That was a year ago.
And
So,
then if this takes off,
I'm sorry?
if this project takes off, refinery and other things is gonna lessen it.
Right.
Produce more
So-
trash.
So it takes about 10 years to develop a landfill. So on top of the fact that we need to conserve as much as we can in our current one, we have to start thinking about where we're going to put another one. And this item before you helps prolong the life of our landfill, because every day you have to put a foot of dirt over the top of whatever you put in your landfill. So that takes up space. The dirt's expensive. We have to haul it in. What this would do is amend our permit to allow us to use an alternative daily cover, which is basically a spray formulation that we just spray over the top of the dirt, so we don't have to put the dirt on what we've put in the landfill for that day. So instead of a foot, we're probably looking at 2 or 3 inches to cover up what we have in there. So we'd save a lot of space in our landfill by doing this. There will be some associated costs later with buying the trailer and the chemicals that we need to spray this alternative daily cover. This is just so Park Hill will figure out what we need and amend our permit, because before we can use this, we have to amend the landfill's permit. So that's basically where we're at, and I'll entertain any questions you have.
Is this something that alternative, does it break down the trash and the rest of the stuff in there, or is it just like the dirt, just a cover?
It's just a cover. It doesn't really break it down any faster than what naturally occurs. It just saves us a lot of space in the fact that we're putting 2 or 3 inches for it the most versus a foot every day.
Is this covering, because the first thing we're gonna ask is safe for our groundwater and all that?
It is. It's environmentally safe. I didn't bring the specifications for it, but if the council would like to see that, I can certainly get you all of them. But it is environmentally safe.
Councilman, it's very similar to tackifier and seed that you would see if you were putting out, if you're redoing over a pipeline that just been placed.
Yeah.
And so it's a very similar product in that it's kind of a glue along with a cellulose kind of material in it.
It doesn't keep it from blowing and dust and keeps it warm.
Yes.
That's like Councilman Reyes and the mayor said, we're gonna start getting the people going to the dump. Start asking, is it environmentally friendly or what's going on here?
Better be drinking it.
Now, it is environmentally friendly. It just basically holds down the dirt. It's not going to seep into the groundwater or anything like that.
Okay, need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion that we approve 20-11-03R, enter into an agreement with Park Hill for engineering work associated with obtaining permit amendment for alternative daily cover and approving contract work in the amount of $17,200 as presented by Donnie McKinney, Environmental Services Director.
Second?
Second, Mayor.
Okay, have motion by Councilman Saldana, second by Councilman Reyes to approve resolution 20-11-03R. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Mayor, Council, thank you.
Thank you, Don. Okay, I'm going to 15, discuss consider resolution 20-11-04R to approve signatories for the West Texas National Bank account. Mr. Lino?
Yes, sir. Mayor and Council, Charles Lino, Finance Director. I bring this before you all tonight to allow me to add myself as a signatory on the bank, and also to add Deputy City Manager Kristen Irie. I also ask in the notifications that I attached to it, that I am allowed to remove many of the signatories that are currently on First National Bank of West Texas signatories that are no longer employed with the city.
I was wondering if you were going to do that.
Yes. Yeah, my goal is to minimize it to only current staff, and this will give us additional signatories that we need to carry on city business.
Maybe it's something that's either yearly or bi-annually to review it and remove names. You're talking about we have a lot.
Yes, sir. And at the same time, I've also put something out that's kind of related to this. Is I'm working on getting both Kristen Irie and myself issued bonds that are going to cover everything, so the city we will both be bonded to protect the city from any negligence or any other issues outside of that. Are there any questions?
You gotta sign the checks.
Yes, sir. I know that.
Need a motion?
May I make a motion to approve resolution 20-11-04R to approve signatories for the West Texas National Bank accounts presented by Charles Lino, Finance Director.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Ona, second by Councilman Saldana to approve resolution 20-11-0R. Approved, Mr. Lino, as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. At 16, discuss consider resolution 20-11-05R, a resolution approving the reappointment of alternate municipal court judges. Ms. Ivy?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Kristen Iron, Deputy City Manager. This resolution is actually a hard copy in front of you. It's not on your iPads. So you should have a hard copy in front of you. So, as we discussed, the municipal court judge is appointed every 2 years, but the alternate judges are actually appointed every year. In order to get them scheduled and into the next training that's required by Texas Municipal Court in December, we need to have them reappointed and reauthorized for this evening. So, and also we're adding Mayor David Flores as an alternate judge. So we have Jessica Acevedo, who is also our municipal court clerk, so she would be an alternate judge. Vanetta Seals, Dolores Heiser, recently got married, it's no longer her maiden name, and Mayor David Flores. Any questions I can answer?
These are all paid positions.
They are paid, the alternates are paid at $20 an hour.
I want to be free.
The mayor can't be paid.
Just for backup stuff.
You do a lot of it?
Yeah. The mayor can serve as ex officio. As an alternate judge, he can serve as ex officio as a backup. Jessica Acevedo Jessica Acevedo is already a municipal court clerk, so she would actually be paid at an overtime rate because that's required because it's an extension of her duties. Dolores Heiser and Vanetta Seals would be paid at $20 an hour if they're called to serve on a weekend or a night. We've also kind of changed the schedule because to make sure that we are keeping with the requirements for due process for anyone who needs to go before the judge, they have to be within 48 hours, they have to go before the judge. We've kind of changed our weekend schedule so we have a specific set hours that if there's anybody who needs to go before the judge, we do call the alternate judge at that point because anything outside those hours would be acceptable within the 48 hours for due process. It can wait till Monday basically. But if anybody has to go before the judge or there has to be something issued by the judge from Friday evening to Saturday noon, that's kind of our very small window. We have to make sure that we have coverage to ensure 48 hours for due process for anyone.
Yeah, I do like the coverage on the weekend because sometimes you run into issues and stuff, right?
Yes.
They want you to execute something or sign something or
and we have set that
here or something.
You have to come over here. Do they go to your house?
No, they go to over there. We go to the court, to the jail. Like one time they'll call me, there was a lady fixing to have a baby. You want to come a rainer or you can have a baby here. So So we go over there, and I actually arraigned her on the ambulance thing. They took her out to have her baby. But it just happens. Or MHMR may step in and say, I need you to sign this guy, we need to send him to screen.
So on this, on weekends, are the judges actually there in person? They're waiting for something to come on?
No, they're called. They're called in
Okay.
if they're needed, and what we put into place is, again, to make sure we have that 48-hour window, is Friday 5 p.m. to Saturday noon. If anything needs to happen, that's where we would call an alternate judge, because unless there's emergency or warrant or something has to be issued, if it's an arraignment, it can wait till Monday at that point. But if there's anything between Friday and Saturday, you start kind of overlapping with the 48 requirement, 48 hours for due process.
And I like to go on the weekend because sometimes things happen that you need to join the family back together.
Oh, okay.
You know, and you rather do that than keep them out for the weekend. And, you don't want to have daddy away from the children. It's always there's circumstances that, you feel that you have to get it done. That's why I always like going the weekend, because let's get them home, get them out of the jail, let's not feed them, it'll cost us money. Things that you think about when somebody gets arrested, and it may be their first time offense. You want to get them out of there. Go home.
They also got to pay their debt to society.
Yes, you do.
Yes, the reappointment will affirm our availability to provide judges on the weekends as
That's
needed.
what I like, that they have this big goal. Okay.
Any other questions?
We have the judge here present.
Yes, our municipal court judge, Ms. Martina Mendoza is here.
Do you have any problem with this?
No, that's fine. Like Kristen said, we're working on that schedule. Right now, we haven't put Annetta Seals or Mrs. Thomas on the schedule because we're doing it virtual and they don't have access to the city. So that's why we're only using Jessica Acevedo and Ms. Mitchell right now. Because we do it through the computer here at the, because of the COVID and stuff, we're the ones going there. They don't want us to go there out.
And
So,
Debbie Debbie Thomas, has requested to not be reappointed. She has too much going on, so she's requested so. But we still have ensured that we have ample coverage.
So everybody has access to the computer?
Yes, it's just city employees that have access.
So the one judge is not a city employee?
That's why they're not on the schedule right now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the ones that are city employees that have access to the computer.
Security.
Any comments or you have questions?
No, I'm helping out like I did Veterans Day. I had like 5 of them. I'll come in too and help them out. When they can't cover. Because I'm on call like from Monday through Friday. If something happens at night, whatever, I have to come in and stuff like that. So on the weekends, I try to get them to do it, so I don't have to be on call like 7 days a week.
You need a break.
Yes. So so we're working at that, and Kristen is helping us a lot now.
That's great.
Getting all that together.
Good.
Thank you, Judge.
All right.
Get a motion to approve?
Yeah, make a motion to approve 20-11-05R, a resolution for the reappointment of alternate municipal court judges for Xavier Kessiari, Deputy Chief Manager, City Manager.
Second?
I'll second.
Finally. Okay.
Quiet tonight.
Yeah, we won the vote and all of a sudden it got quiet on us.
She's still in her honeymoon right now.
Still in the honeymoon. So I have a motion by Councilman Orana, second by Councilwoman Trujillo, to approve resolution 201105R as presented by Ms. Irie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
I guess I
Motion
will
carries.
with this. Well.
Okay, we're going to item 17, discuss consider resolution 20-11-06R, granting easement for the town of Pecos City to the town of Pecos City for the purpose of installing utilities in areas described as.
I'll read them if you'd like. A .069 grid and surface acres tract of land out of section 14, block 5, H&GN. Our Y company survey, abstract A-4356, Reeves County, Texas. a .090 grid and surface acres tract of land out of a 1.33 grid and surface acres tract of land out of the northwest quarter of Section 14, Block 5, H&GN, RY Company Survey, Abstract A-4356 in Reeves County, Texas, and a .30 grid and surface acres tract of land out of a .091 grid and surface acres tract of land out of the northwest quarter of Section 14, Block 5, H&GN, RY Company Survey, Abstract A-4356 in Reeves County, Texas.
That's highway, that's, like this, that's county road, that's where the baseball fields are.
That it is where the baseball fields are. And so, I don't foresee us ever selling the baseball fields to anyone else, but just to make sure that we've got it documented of where our easements are, and to do things the proper way, we're asking that we give ourselves an easement to put in our water and sewer lines for the baseball complex.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Are we doing anything with that county road 118, widening it or anything like that?
We are working on it, but it's going to take some money, and that's going to be a topic of an upcoming meeting that we need to discuss.
That is owned by the county, it's county.
So 118 is ours. 116 by some.
Used to be, we thought it was ours.
We thought it was, but for some reason when we annexed that, the county specifically retained 116.
Which one's 116?
The one that runs east-west.
East-west.
Yeah.
From the service road down, Mike.
I don't know why they retained it, because that's highly unusual for an annexation for a county to do so.
If they want to help with the water, they give them the road.
But both 116 and 118 are going to need some work, especially as we're expecting it to be a gateway into our baseball complex.
On this easement is going to allow us to be able to put whatever we need in
For
in
utilities.
that easement.
For utilities, yes.
For utilities.
And some of the electrical material came in today.
I'm so glad. Our contractor is sweating bullets over getting up and going. Excellent.
Okay, need a motion?
I make the motion that we approve Resolution 20-11-06R, granting an easement from the town of Pecos City to the town of Pecos City for the purpose of installing utilities in area described as A, B, and C, as presented by Mr. Seth Sorensen, City Manager.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Saldana, second by Councilman Dev, to approve resolution 20-11-06R as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're gonna take a quick break. Okay, time is 7:27.
Ni chance comemos un burrito.
Estamos platicando.
Okay, we're going to go back into session. Time is 7:35. We're at F18, discuss consider resolution 20-11-07R. Sale of self-contained breathing apparatus, scuba to Reeves County Emergency Service District Number 1. Mr. Swanson?
Mayor and Council, this is just the next step in the transition to the Emergency Service District. Similar to what they did with the other equipment, they went and got an appraisal to find out the residual value of the SCBA. It came back at $29,740. Again, not only does this help us by making that transition, but it also puts the requirements to do the upkeep of the SCBA on the ESD, which I have no doubt that they will keep as a top priority. And so I do recommend to the council that we go ahead and approve the sale.
Okay, need a motion to
I'll make
approve
the motion
sale?
there to accept resolution 20-11-07R. Sale of self-contained breathing apparatus to Reeves County Emergency Service Number 1.
Second. A motion by Councilman Tellez, second by Councilman Orona to approve resolution 20-11-07R, sale of self-contained breathing apparatus. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Write the check, Chief.
That's what he's doing right now.
Okay, we'll go ahead and go on to F20. Discuss consider resolution 20-11-09R, approving the award of the Lincoln Street stoplight project to Willis Electric Company LP for the total contract amount of $329,890. Mr. Swanson?
Mayor and Council, this went out to bid. We did receive the loan bid from Willis Electric. Come to find out, they do a lot of the work in this region, and so it's no surprise that they were the bidder. And a lot of the other bidders said we can't ever beat them, so we don't submit, which makes sense. We were estimating this to come in around $500,000. We're very glad to see it come in under that. It also gives us a better measure for the other lines that we still need to do in town. And so the contractor, which was PSC, reviewed the qualifications of Willis Electric, found them to be a reliable company, and they are recommending to us, and I am recommending to you, that we accept this contract with Willis Electric in the amount of $329,890.
So for the other ones, were we looking at over half, over 100,000 on the other street, like 17 and...
We hope to get a little bit better pricing by buying in bulk.
That's what I was gonna get at. If we could get him to, maybe if we could get the other entities to help us, hopefully, that, hey, look, the price is lowered, if we get this one company that can give us a bulk rate.
And I think we will, but there will also be a little bit of a trade-off, because there's going to be a little bit more electronic component to them, so that they all communicate with each other. But I do think by buying in bulk, we'll get some better pricing, or at least no worse than what we're seeing here.
We do have the money budgeted for this project.
We do. So even though we moved some of the money over to Washington Street, we retained $1.5 million for Lincoln, specifically to be able to do this stoplight and the entranceway. And putting a stoplight in was part of our agreement with United. They've done their part. They're now open. So this is part of our agreement with them.
It's gonna need it.
It is.
I'll make a motion. Yo quiero que...
Senior moment.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 20-11-09R, approving the award for the Lincoln Street Spotlight Project to Willis Electric Company LP for the total contract amount of $329,890. Is presented by City Manager Seth Sorensen.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Saldana, second by Councilman Tellez to approve resolution 20-11-09R as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Discuss consider resolution 20-11-10R approving to award the bid for the SCADA project. Swenson?
Mayor and Council, I apologize that it didn't make it into the title. We were still waiting for the recommendation from the engineer when we had to post on Monday. But we have received that recommendation from Enprotech, Hibs, and Todd. We received multiple bids, 7 in total, with the apparent low bidder being SOAP, S-O-A-P Engineering, LLC, out of Houston, Texas. As you may recall, we actually turned down bids just a few months ago because it came in over our 1.5 that we had, or I'm sorry, 1.7 that we had budgeted. It came in closer to $2 million. We reworked the scope to take out the very large meters out of the well field, and we were fortunate that this time around with the total base bid that SOAP Engineering provided was $1,314,159.27, which is well within our budget. They were found to be responsive and able to do this work, and so we are recommending to you that we accept this bid from SOAP Engineering LLC in the amount of $1,314,159.27. Keep trying to round it off.
Yeah. May I make a motion to approve resolution 20-11-10R approving to award a bid for the SCADA project as presented by such forces for the amount of $1,314,159.27.
Second?
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilman Corona, second by Councilman Trujillo, to approve resolution 20-11-10R, awarding bid for SCADA project. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. F-22, discuss consider resolution 20-11-11R, contract amendment with MBS Development Services for the SEQ Utilities Project in the amount of $25,000. Mr. Swanson?
Mayor and Council, this was one of the final things that we came across as a hiccup when we were designing the SEQ. The SEQ is the baseball field, but it's more than that. It's actually to serve a 600-something acre development. We did plan it so that as that area does explode, as we anticipate it will, that we'll be able to serve that entire area with these improvements. But one of the things that we found right as we were about ready to release the project was that where we were hoping to put the lift station was on an undivided interest with more than 30 owners, and we were just simply not able to track them down. And so this engineering represents us moving that lift station with the additional surveying, the re-engineering, and the landman costs that went into that. And so I am requesting that we approve this change order for the engineer in the amount of $25,000.
The motion?
Make a motion, we approve resolution 20-11-11R, contract amendment with NBS Development Services for the SEQ Utilities Project in the amount of $25,000 presented by City Manager Sanford.
Second?
Second.
A motion by Councilman Saldana, second by Councilman Orona, approve resolution 20-11-11R, contract amendment as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. F-23, discuss consider resolution 20-11-12R, a resolution approving the purchase of home track located on Highway 285 south of I-20 for the amount of $37,500. Mr. Swanson?
Mayor and Council, similarly, as we came across this tract of land, when we went to approach the home family to request an easement, they said, we won't give you an easement, but we'll sell you the whole thing. And so we said, okay. And so they are requesting the sales price of $37,500. It's originally it was about a 7.5 acre tract, but that was prior to 285 going through it. And so we do have a small piece on either side of the highway, which is roughly about 5 acres still. Even at that, it's well worth the price. It also fits strategically with what we anticipate needing for bringing future improvements from the well field into town. And so strategically it is a good investment, and it is located rather close to the PEDC's 187 acres there as well. And so strategically this makes sense, and they're offering a reasonable price. We are requesting approval to move ahead with this purchase.
And this is 5 acres?
More or less.
And that's including both sides?
It does, yeah.
This is south of 16 Motel? My hotel?
It is south of there. It's closer to parallel with the baseball complex.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, you have a motion?
I'll make the motion, Mayor, to consider buying or doing resolution number 20-11-12R as presented by our city manager.
Second?
Second.
Okay, a motion by Councilman Tellez, second by Councilman Orona to approve resolution 20-11-12R as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, F24, discuss consider ordinance 20-10-01, an ordinance to approve the renaming of West Jackson Street to West Elizabeth Street, from the west end Texas Street to the east end of Oak Street. This would be the second reading.
Mayor and Council, this is the second reading, as well as we've had public hearings on the renaming of this. This is primarily to help with addressing and to make a little bit more sense of the roads that got shifted across from each other. This impacts 4 properties. 2 of those properties are owned by the same property owner. They are able to maintain their same address. The only thing that would change would be the street name. We feel that this will clarify it for our first responders, make it a little bit easier to make sense of it, and as we continue to grow, what will be West Elizabeth Street will be used as the nomenclature for the area of growth that we anticipate by the Walmart and new United grocery store.
Any objections from people? No.
We haven't. We've had a few concerns on the cost of redoing it, and as is included in this ordinance, if we're willing to pay the money for people to get a new driver's license or any renaming that might be necessary, we anticipate it to be less than $100 per address.
Okay, a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 20-10-01, and ordinance to approve the renaming of West Jackson Street to West Elizabeth Street from the west end of Texas Street to the east end of Oak Street. Second reading is done by City Manager.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, a motion by Councilman Orona, second by Councilman Daniel to approve ordinance 20-10-01 as presented by Mr. Swanson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. F25, update on volunteer fire department station and items discussed at joint entity meeting. Mr. Swanson?
Mayor and Council, this is just an update. We did have a joint editing meeting last month, which is the first one we've had in person in quite some time. Additionally, we have had multiple 2x4 group meetings to further discuss it. I don't really have too much to report other than what we've been working on with the other entities are still in motion, including the traffic lights that were discussed earlier, including the Pecos Proud crew is still in discussion, as well as the partnership for the fire department station. As you may recall on that one, the school district donated that property for the purpose of creating the fire station with a clawback that if it's ever not used for emergency services, it would go back to the school. The city and the county partnered to build that building. And right now we're kind of in a holding pattern while we wait for each of those entities to do the research on their side to see what they would like to see happen with that. whether they would like to sell it or just donate it to the ESD as part of this transition and handoff. Similarly with all of the other items, we did find out that for the lobbyists for the 2021 legislative season, that the hospital and the school district are unlikely to participate in that. We still have a lot of needs. The lobbyist, if we were to continue with the same company, which would be Blackridge, is willing to hold their price at the $200,000. There was some debate on whether or not it would be very effective to have a lobbyist in this upcoming season with the coronavirus. But as we've seen, the legislature has already introduced over 500 bills, and so they plan on legislating. And as that is the case, I think it's very worthwhile and very important that we continue to have a presence in Austin so that people know that we are the heart of the Delaware Basin and we're not going anywhere. As we've seen earlier in this meeting, there is too much going on for the state not to take notice of us, and we need to make sure that we are there in their ear fighting for Pecos and its residents. And so that is something that we will need to bring back, as whether or not we would be willing to fund the other $50,000 for one of those entities. The county has already intimated that they would be willing to provide up to $100,000, but at $150,000 it starts to become uneconomical for them. So since we're the last two standing out of that group, it makes sense for us to divide that in half. Similarly, on the December agenda, we'll need to discuss what our legislative agenda would be, of what we would hope Blackridge would be able to do for us. I personally think that it's very similar to what we had 2 years ago. We still need roads, we still need funding, we still need them to fix property tax. Those are nothing new. And so that's my report from these meetings. Any questions of me?
And the judge still feels that staying in is very important. You know, he still feels we have to make trips out there during that session. We will, because again, there's a lot at stake that's coming up or has been already awarded, and we want to make sure that they still know we're still alive and we're going to keep going. But the hospital did say that they pretty much got their own now, and they want to deal with that. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. We'll go ahead and go into executive session under Texas Government Code 551-071, 551-072, 551-074, 551-087. Time is 7:53. And again, time is 8:09. Is there anything to come before the council during executive session? We're going on to G. Any items to discuss for council agenda? Remember, we only have one meeting in December.
No,
So
so
you have
we can
anything?
keep it short, this is a long one.
Anything, please let Sarah know. Motion to adjourn?
Oh, I do have one, but I'll talk to Sarah. Well, no, hold on. I know that Councilman Basa, you brought up the employees, party for the end of the year.
The appreciation
Yeah.
dinner?
Yeah, well, with the COVID the way it is, we're not gonna reconsider that, in my opinion.
Well, we got, that was planned for sometime in
December, right?
Yes.
A few weeks to think
This
about.
morning I actually came to work and I talked to Seth, I spoke with a couple of employees, and we are gonna still host it, but we modified the layout. We're gonna I guess accommodate social distancing.
Mhm.
We're only gonna have 4 employees per table. We're gonna space out the tables, and we're not going to have the dance.
Okay.
We're gonna do the meal, the awards, and they can get a prize. Once they win a prize, we're gonna ask that the employee leaves, and then once all the prizes are given out, we'll be done.
Okay,
I saw them making out the invitations, right?
Yes.
I'm happy with that.
And I mean, at any time, if the county feels like they need to cut it off and say, you know what, y'all can't take everything off, I mean, it's at their will, so until they tell us otherwise.
So we have to show the example, and that was my point of it, large gatherings will produce, but if you're talking, if you do what you're doing, I'll be
Yes, and that was
for
my
it.
concern as well, and that was a solution that we came up with.
Well, and also, sir, now that I'm thinking about it, I would like, don't we usually approve the holidays for the following year?
I believe that happens during budget season when they present you with the handbook, and that's when it has the days off in there, because that goes with budgeting.
Why, what do you wanna give them off now?
No, I'm just wondering.
Are you referring to the council meeting agenda?
No, the holidays, the work
Holidays, like the county every December, they will give us a list for the following year.
I don't remember 6 months. We always just.
And I noticed that we didn't have Columbus Day.
No, we don't have that, but we do get veterans.
See, I'm a veteran, I don't get my day.
See, we get all of them.
Yeah, the county gets a lot of days off.
Yeah.
What's going on over there?
I think we even got Halloween.
They're like a post.
Oh, it was on a Saturday.
All right.
And I just want to see that. And then if Ms. Irene, could you get me a handbook eventually somewhere along the line? Not right now.
Did
you want electronic copy or you want hard copy?
Hard copy.
Hard copy.
Absolutely.
But not right now. Don't worry about it right now.
You can't read anyway, so.
I get somebody to read it.
Put it in braille.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Okay, motion from Councilman Rona, second by Councilman Tez. All those in favor for adjournment, approved, say
Adios. Let's go to
Opposed, say nay.
I wish everybody had a nice meeting. If I don't see y'all between now and then, don't have a happy Thanksgiving.